I'll turn it up. Can you hear me now? Okay, let's get it. Now let's get it. Can everybody get it? Okay. This thing has a pickup about that far. But anyhow, okay. This is called to order to address the Kennedale City Council regarding the agenda item submitted. A request to speak form before the meeting begins. Speakers are allotted 3 minutes, must limit their comments to the subject indicated on the form, and should address the Kennedale City Council as a whole rather than individual members or staff. Precedent to Texas Government Code 551.071. The Kennedale City Council reserves the right to adjourn into executive closed session at any time during the meeting to seek legal advice from our city attorney on any item posted on the agenda. Madam Secretary, would you perform roll call?
Jan Joplin,
Here.
Gary Mitchell,
Here.
Kenneth Michaels,
Here.
Austin Degenhart,
Here.
James Connor.
Ever present.
Mayor Hollis, we have a quorum for this meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Secretary. First thing we want to have is invocation. And our Mayor Pro Temp, Jan Joplin, has agreed to say the prayer for us. So if you'll do that, ma'am. I'll stand. Amen. Yeah. U.S. flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, Thank you, Councilman Michaels, for that. Number two, we will have the visitor and citizen forum. At this time, anyone wishing to address the city council regarding any item on the agenda may do so as that item is considered, provided that a speaker request form is submitted to the city secretary. Speakers are allotted 3 minutes. Must limit their comments to the subject indicated on the submitted form and should address the council as a whole rather than individual. Council members or staff. Okay, first one I'm gonna call. First person I'm gonna call is, and I'm gonna say the name, and I apologize, this is bad. Revisc. Okay, how do you pronounce it? Levine? Okay, thank you very much. And could you approach the, just right up here? Mm-hmm.
And my name is Levine Rose Munoz. So I was alerted by my neighbors that the city council is voting this evening on the mayor's veto for the Magnolia expansion to try to connect them the development, their expansion to the vineyard. So when I heard about this, I wanted to actually attend. We were the first people to buy into the vineyards, and we bought that because of it being a very small community, very private. So needless to say, I'm really stunned that we want, well, the city, or I don't know who is making this decision to connect us. I can't think of any benefits for our development. So my question to the council is, what is the big benefit? Why the decision is being made to connect us to the other development? Because I can think of one good reason for us, the homeowners. Thank you.
Ms. Jumping, would you care to answer that?
I would just like to make an apology to the people that wanted to come tonight. I did not know there was going to be an opportunity to speak. And so that's what I'd like to say. I didn't realize, so for those watching and maybe listening, I wasn't aware, and I was actually told that there wouldn't be public speaking on this. And that's why I told some people that there wouldn't be any public, but I appreciate your comments on that very much. And I did deny the development. So, there's traffic issues, drainage issues. It is the very small lots that would go back up to the vineyards, which are the bigger lots. So thank you very much for coming, despite maybe some of us, but could you repeat your name for me? Because it's not on our agenda for the public forum. And so I missed your name. Thank you very much for coming. Great. Thank you so much for coming.
And thank you for speaking also. I made that on the fly because, again, obviously there's not enough people in here to not go ahead and let someone speak if they so wished. So I apologize about that. The next person to speak is Sam Cordova. Sam?
How y'all doing this evening? I was coming to see if it'd be possible to revise the water ordinance for the billing cycles. Every month I pay my bill to a zero balance, And every month at the beginning of the month, I have to worry about my water being terminated if I don't make it here on time. Like y'all were closed yesterday. I put my money order in the drop box this afternoon. It's 12 o'clock, so y'all were closed. I put it in the drop box and they showed up in my house today to turn my water off, even though I pay it off to a zero balance every month. They said if I lived in Arlington, they let you get a month behind, and then the new bill comes out. And if you don't pay that, then you're terminated. But with me, every month I get a SSI check. And every month my water, I have to worry about it getting terminated if I don't make it down here before they cut me off. So I was gonna see if it'd be possible to extend that payment program.
Hey, Stan, I appreciate your comments, sir. Thank you for coming up. And we'll pass this on through the procedure so that we'll review it and make sure that we make it work. Thank you for coming. Okay, then the next one we're gonna have is number 2, and that's reports and announcements. It is with a great deal of pleasure that I get to bring Chief Brown up, because I know that he's just smiling and laughing and even drove the thing over here. And I say the thing is obviously the new Kennedale ambulance. He's going to
Absolutely.
showcase that for us, I believe.
We are, we thought we'd take this opportunity to bring the new ambulance and show it to everybody. So, just wanted to thank, council for, agreeing to replace our ambulance. This one, we're real proud of it. It's a beautiful truck. It's going to serve us well for a number of years. And there again, thank you for approving that in, our last year's budget. With no further ado, let's go outside and look at it. We'll show you how
Let's
some of
do.
the stuff
How-
operates.
What, 10 minutes?
Yeah,
15
10 minutes. That'd
10
be
minutes,
good.
okay.
Yes, sir.
I want to adjourn the meeting for 10 minutes to review these ambulances. You
All
might
right.
like to look them over. You may ride in them one day.
Let's hope not.
Inadvertently.
Come on out.
I got to recess it, yeah.
Yeah, I bet you
Here, this is all new for me. I've never done this. So what is the process here? This is going to be the. Yeah, so this is the agenda that was posted. So we'll follow this. So. So this is the, so this is the. And it's the action. So that's what
Well, is there an impact? Worse.
No.
Sure it is. You are important. What
It's
do you
not the
mean?
pen.
It's that good looking hat's what it is. Public hearing, right? Okay, yeah.
Oh, the other night. We're watching 18. Land. Somebody's supposed to be in. You know what I'm saying? I mean, food, man. And he tells me who it is, and I open the door. I'm glad I didn't get shot. He was real cool, though. He was awesome. I think he's a good man. I mean, I just talked to him for a few minutes, but he seemed like a good guy. Yeah.
I hope everyone's enjoyed the review of the new ambulance. So we'll bring this meeting back to order at 5:53. Council's in order. We've got, besides, that's good looking equipment, by the way. That is nice. And it will save a lot of backs too. But anyhow, having said that, we're gonna have the swearing in of two of our newest police officers. That gives me a great deal of pleasure. Chief, would you swear in the new officers? Tim Scott and India McMurray. Is that
Yes,
correct?
there's a song. First of all, thank you for having us this evening. I would, if that's okay, would like to read a very brief biography by each one or for each officer. If that would be all right.
Yes, sir.
The first person that I want to introduce, and I can have both the officers come and stand right here in front of council, please. I'd like to introduce Officer India Murray first. Officer India Murray will soon complete her 7th year of public service as a police officer before becoming a Kennedale Police Department officer. She served with the UT Arlington Police Department working as a patrol officer before transitioning into the community engagement officer position during her last year and a half with UTAPD. While also working at UTAPD, Officer Murray served as a committee member on the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Department Hiring Board. Prior to working in law enforcement, Officer Murray worked for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services as a foster child and adoption specialist. She also has extensive experience working with at-risk youth in Pennsylvania and in her home state of New Jersey. Officer Murray is a certified sexual assault, family violence investigator, and a crime prevention specialist. She also has an intermediate TCOL peace officer license. Her educational background consists of a Bachelor of Arts degree in sociology from Rider University, a Master of Arts degree in criminal justice from St. Louis University, and she is currently working towards a PhD in business administration through North Central University.
That's great.
I'd also like to introduce to you Officer Tim Scott. His biography: he completed his basic officer training at Tarrant County College in 1996 and began his career as a reserve officer, with the Tarrant County Constable's Office Precinct 3. In 1998, Officer Scott was hired by the White Settlement Police Department, where he served for 8 years. While at White Settlement, Officer Scott was a patrol officer, a field training officer, and a detective. He was promoted to the rank of corporal before he left White Settlement after being hired by the Midlothian Police Department in 2006. After serving as a patrol officer for 2 years at Midlothian Police, Officer Scott was promoted to the rank of sergeant in 2008 in charge of patrol. He would eventually serve as the criminal investigation sergeant for 5 years during his almost 12-year career with the Midlothian Police Department. In 2018, Officer Scott came out of retirement and was hired as a special investigator with the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. His cases primarily consisted of major crimes against children to include sexual and physical abuse and death investigations. He also taught investigations and warrant writing courses for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services while serving as a special investigator. Also, during 2018, he was hired as a part-time officer for the city of Payroll, Texas, a police department, and conducted background investigation for the city and the police department. In total, Officer Scott has more than 24 years of law enforcement service with over 12 years of investigations experience. He is a master peace officer, a TCOL certified instructor, and has taken a significant number of specialized investigative training courses throughout his career. So as everyone can probably tell, I'm really thrilled about these two new additions to our police department. I'm also very happy because for the first time, as far as anyone can recall, we are at full staffing. So that's great for any police agency, especially in this area. Police recruitment and hiring is very competitive right now. For us to be actually at full staff is says a lot about not just who we're attracting, but also our community and what they look forward to doing to serve here with us, as opposed to having choices, obviously, to go other places. So without further ado, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand each officer the law enforcement oath of office. They will raise their right hand. They will read it to you, and basically, and that'll really be about it for us in terms of that. And then if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer. Okay, so starting with Officer Murray, please raise your right hand. Go ahead and read the paper. Officer Scott. Council and
Me for 1 minute.
Yes, sir.
Thank y'all for serving our city.
Officers India Murray and Tim Scott.
Y'all come up here. I only have one question. you look at our firemen, our fire chief, you look at the chief of police. And I only have one question. Where do we get such great people to serve us? This is just a pleasure. Okay, I have 3 proclamations that I will be presenting. First one, let's see here. It is a proclamation on payroll week, and Ms. Sherman will be the recipient of that. Come on up. Get the checks to them, they ought to be happy. I guarantee you. Yeah, well, we was. It's not being super like this. Ma'am, congratulations. Yeah, well done. Thank you so much. Okay, number 3 is regular session. First item on regular session is A, public hearing on the year of 2022 and 23 proposed budget. The one making that presentation will be our illustrious finance director, Miss Ann. Would you come up and make the presentation, please, ma'am?
In your package, you should have received the proposed budget as presented by our city manager, Darrell Hull. So on August the 16th, we met for a workshop. And during that workshop, each of you provided comments on the proposed budget. Your comments have been included in the revised proposed budget. The revised proposed budget is posted on our city website, and a copy should be in your hands. And with that, Mr. Mayor, I believe you're going to open a public hearing for the budget
Yes.
in,
And I would like to open a public meeting for the budget. This is why I wanted so many people to come from Kennedale and take a look at this thing. It's a piece of art. And from a business perspective, it's as fine a piece of document as I've seen. So please enjoy, ask questions.
Thank you.
Here we'll now open up for public hearing. We have one speaker. I believe that is Mr. Rocky Gilly. Please come up, Mr. Gilly. State your name, address.
My name is Rocky D. Gilly. I live at 220 South Dick Price Road. First off, I want to congratulate the staff and the finance director in particular for the first time in recent memory of having a legitimate understandable budget that is a working document and not a sort of a reason to raise taxes. And I appreciate that. Now, that gratitude being extended, I'll ask for more. I would say roughly that in the last 10 years, Kennedale City taxes have doubled. Some people it's probably more than doubled. And that can't go on. We are the fourth highest taxing entity in Tarrant County based upon tax rate. And tax rate does not equal property taxes. Tax rate is just a factor in the formula based upon your valuations, which keep going up, as well as any exemptions you may or may not have. And I would ask two things. One is that you can go as close to the new no new tax rate, meet it or as close to it as you can go without endangering the city as a whole, and especially emergency response. The second request would be that we start an investigation, meetings, a goal, and to get us away from having the fourth highest tax rate in Tarrant County and get us down maybe in the middle of the pack for cities of our size. I know this is hard. I know this is tough. Budget time, fighting for resources for all the projects that needed to be done. And I know it's hard. Thank you for doing this hard job. And I appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Rocky. I'd like to make one comment or two comments at this point. I hope all of you appreciate how hard a work this budget is required. Again, it's second to none in my opinion. The other thing is that weighs, and we have that weight continuously on the council. Council gets a request for the things the citizen want, rightfully so. We work for the citizens. The second thing is we have a situation with our federal economy that is going the wrong direction. So when you take the tax load down, and we have taken it down quite a lot, as a matter of fact, or propose it, should y'all vote it in. And that's the council. When you balance those things together, I recommend that we do it with a lot of caution. There's been talk of zero budget, zero taxes, and then we look at Tarrant County with 10.5 presented to the council over there. I look at the other cities beside us, and normally they're around 2% takedown. Again, our proposal by the council has been 5.8. I ran on dropping taxes. However, my common sense tells me there's a place where we have to look at everything that we do and double check it with y'all, because again, y'all own this city, to make sure that we're giving you the maximum we can get for bang for the buck. Again, I ask you to realize how much work has went into this, and no matter what you wish for, please bring it before us, because your wishes are important. And I'll leave that part and go to the next session. I'm going to close the hearing for the public hearing. And I'll open up, and then the next item on the regular session will be discussion and any necessary actions regarding fiscal year 2022 and 23 proposed budget. Are we ready to accept the proposed budget? Do I have a motion?
This is, that sets discussion and any necessary action regarding the fiscal year.
Okay,
Doesn't say that we have to vote on anything as of yet, I do believe.
okay, thank you, sir. Okay, we'll have discussion and necessary action once we get that discussion made. Now's the time for Miss Annie to come up, I believe, and bring that all before us. See if there's any discussion at all. Council members first. Okay. Ms. Joplin, do you have any questions?
I've got a couple of questions, but most importantly, I just want to say to the citizens here and the citizens watching, if you haven't had a chance, go to our website and look at this budget. It is fantastic. It's clear. You can see you did an amazing job. Every single department is outlined with what their goals are, what their objectives are, short-term, long-term. It's very clearly laid out. Used to, it would take me several days to go through this. It's a lot cleaner. So I know sometimes you think, oh, who wants to look through a budget? But trust me on this one, it is actually very interesting. Has a lot of interesting pieces in it about each department. And then as a whole, what we're doing as a city and the direction we're going in and what our goals and what the project plans are in there. So I would just really encourage you to be a nerd like me and be interested and go on and just take a peek at it, because this is what our money is going towards. This is where our money is being spent right here. So with that being said, I did want to say that you are absolutely correct as far as the tax history, Mr. Gilly. It was in 2001 was the last time our tax rate was lower than what's being proposed this year. This year, we're proposing a 0.706. And in 2001, we were 0.69. And in 2002, we went to 0.71. So you'd have to go back as far as 2001 to get to the tax rate where we are. So we are going in that direction. And that has been an objective for all of us as council to move in that direction and to the city manager. So I appreciate the fact that we heard the citizens and you heard us. And we are very, very close to a no-no, very, very close. I had a nice conversation with our finance director today, and some people may not even get an increase, and there may be some for others. So that's how close we are. And not only with that, we have to be careful as council, and sorry, I'm rambling on, but you asked if I had anything.
Yes,
So we have to make sure that we're taking care of our citizens and that we're not cutting our nose off to spite our face just to say, oh, we didn't increase taxes. But did we provide everything our citizens need for our first responders, for our fire, for our police, for our staff, for our public works? We have to make sure that we're providing everything to meet the needs of the citizens, which we haven't been doing in a very, very long time. And so now that's going to take us some time to get back to where we need to be. And so with that being said, we have come a long way And so I feel like we're still providing what our citizens need. We have the fire truck, the ambulance, there's a brush fire truck in the budget this year. There's a fire marshal. So we're including it. There's extra police cars. There's an extra person to handle our court cases. So we're still able to do things that the citizens need and still be able to bring that tax down. So that says a lot for what we're doing with our staff and with every single director that's been working with you. So I see that. It's completely different than anything I've ever been presented before. So I thank you for that. So my question is on the fire page on 69. Just help me understand, there's a line item for the grant expense. And it was quite a large 810,000. And it was on an expense, not a revenue. So is it offset somewhere else?
Yes.
Okay,
It's offset on the revenue side.
okay,
So the
Okay.
revenue side, and this she explains to me, because, I told y'all when I presented to you last month, I said, I don't want to show you this because it shows my budget has actually increased 810,000, when realistically it's offset through revenue of grants.
okay.
But as she said, we have to show it somewhere as an
It's
expense.
expense.
So
Okay,
it's expensed in that manner.
okay. That makes perfect sense to me. Okay.
Offsets on page 38. In the third section
Yep.
down. you'll
Yes.
See 810,000.
Okay. Okay, perfect.
To match the 810,000.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Thank you. I knew you had an answer. And that's what I appreciate is there's answers for all of this. And the other thing I wanted to brag is not only is our police fully staffed, but our fire is also fully staffed. So, and I believe that probably is the first time in Kennedale history. And that says a lot about where we're at as a city as well. So I don't have any more questions. That was it for me. There probably is more, but I've taken up enough time, so I'll turn it over to you.
I don't have any questions, but I just want to praise you guys for what you've done. It's amazing. I think the city is in a good position and really moving forward. And what a team you guys have put together. Miss Caroline, you've done an amazing job, man. All of you guys, I'm proud of you so much. And I just want our citizens to realize what a good and amazing staff that we have, our city managers, just amazing, doing things behind the scenes that we don't even know about. So every time you get a chance, praise them. But we would like to check into that guy for that water bill for me. I mean, that's a small thing, but it's a very important thing, right? Okay, that's all I have.
Ken? I'm kind of like everybody else. I like to thank our staff and our city manager for this is probably one of the best budgets I've seen in Kennedale in a long time, and that we're reducing taxes and, and that's what the citizens want. So thank y'all. I really appreciate all the hard work that y'all did. I know Ann was up here on Saturday trying to get everything done, late Saturday. So I really appreciate her efforts and presenting this to us, and the city manager for coming up with this budget. Thank you, sir. Mr. Austin?
So in recent history, Kennedale's been the fourth highest in Tarrant County as far as the tax rate's concerned. We've heard that time and time again. If this budget is adopted as it stands, we will move from the fourth position to the eighth position, which I think is fantastic. So kudos to staff, kudos to our city manager, our finance director, and our department heads for asking for realistic budget expectations, asking for what your needs are, and ultimately serving our citizens through fiduciary responsibility. Thank you for being good stewards of their funds.
Mr. Connor?
You and I spoke for about 45 minutes yesterday on Labor Day. Labor Day was supposed to be a day that you're supposed to have off from doing labor. You didn't, so thank you. And I had most of my questions answered then. I did have a few comments that I did want to go ahead and reserve for here, though, that I did not tell you about, and I don't mean to, hit you on the wayside. But to Jan's point, actually, you have to go back to 1988. That's when it was 32 cents, not 69. I like everything about this budget. As you know, I've done finance for quite a long time in my life. This is very clean. It's easy to read. There's nothing that is out of place that I said, I got you. Because there's nothing out of place. It's actually a balanced budget, whereas the ones in the past are kind of like, I'm sorry. But I did want to go ahead and reserve just a comment. The raises that our people, our non-sworn people, staff, 5% for people and 5% and then 10% for public works. I think that's kind of offset. I think we kind of need to meet in the middle, because I understand that our public works department, they work their butts off, and there's only one full-time employee and a part-timer right now that I'm aware about. But the people that are in the office that are in our permits department that are, over here in our court, in the offices back in the back, I think they deserve just a little bit more gratitude than just 5%, in my opinion. So I did want to go ahead and just maybe later on in the year, if we can help them just a little bit more. I think if we can do, like a revised budget later on down the road, I think it would be helpful to help them out as well, because a 10% raise is huge. 5% raise in this economy is huge as well. But let's meet in the middle. Let's give them their due diligence as well. But besides that, I have nothing on this budget. If Fortune 500 companies could actually look at this, some of them might actually go, oh my God. But yeah, I love this budget. I have nothing else to say. You've done an amazing job. Your staff has done an amazing job. City manager, amazing job. So thank you so much for coming to Kennedale and helping us out, because after looking at last year's and this year's, we needed it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Connor. Mr. Hull, I know this is not in order, but I would like to see if you may have some comments to make to the citizens.
Well, first and foremost, it takes more than just one person to complete anything. And it always starts with a vision. And the vision obviously has come from the council of what you've asked the citizens for you to come out and to accomplish. I believe with this budget, this proposed budget, we were able to accomplish that goal in so many different ways. And I think one thing that I hear more than anything is that it's been simplified, that it's not complicated in how you read it or what you're looking for, and done a tremendous job in being able to create what the vision was in that manner, to come out and help each department head come up with what their vision of their department, what their vision of for their year, and what they're going to do with that. We were able to bring that to you with a 20-year low. And also within that 20-year low, we're doing it with 10 less employees than they did in 2002. You have asked us to do a lot, and I feel that we accomplished that goal as a team. And I feel we'll be able to continue to do that and continue to build year after year after year. Even though the tax rate may come up, it also can come down. And we obviously have been able to accomplish that this year. You've asked for your infrastructure to be completed. We have that in the budget as well. You will start seeing that this month as we move forward. And you'll continue to see that vision that you have outlined for me to accomplish. And I look forward to that new journey to do so.
Thank you, sir. I only have one comment I'd like to make, and it's the same one I sent out on a lot of emails answering about phase two. There's the balance, folks. What I would tell you is, please, no matter what we have on the agenda in front of you, please come down and ask to look at the budget. Do not hesitate. Do not think that you're not important enough, because you're the most important thing we have in this city, the owners. Please come down and ask. You will find that we'll show them to you. These are not hidden. Transparency has been our number one goal for this time period. We would ask you to come down and look. We would ask you to ask questions about anything you are concerned about. That's the only thing I'd have to say. Again, we appreciate you for being here. We're ready to accept the proposed budget. Do I have a motion? I'm asking for it.
I'll make a motion to accept the budget as proposed.
Mr. Austin has made a motion that we accept the budget as proposed. Do I hear a second?
I will second it.
Mr. Kenneth has seconded that motion to have the budget approved. Do we have any discussion?
Yes.
Very good, sir.
Item C is announce dates for public hearing on tax increase. So if we go ahead and do this right now, then why should we have a public hearing on a tax increase? I'm just confused on that. I'm sorry.
You're still going to have the hearing on the tax rate, but that is separate from the budget. So you can approve the budget and then you can approve the tax rate.
Thank you.
Did everybody understand what we're doing there? Okay, no problem. That's a good question. Appreciate you asking it. Okay. Oh, do we have anyone else? Austin, would you like to make any comments further?
No further comments. I like it.
Yeah. No other comments? Okay. All in favor of this particular item?
Point of order. I think
Pardon?
Anna's trying to tell us something.
Okay. Okay.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. Then we'll have a roll call vote. Can you conduct that, Ms. Secretary?
Jan Joplin. Gary Mitchell. Kenneth Michaels.
I'm in favor.
Austin Degenhart.
I'm in favor.
James Connor.
In favor.
The motion has been made to accept the budget, and it has been approved by all council. Thank you. Thank you, people. The motion has been made to accept the budget, and it has been approved. By the way, the final proposed budget will be on September the 13th at that city council meeting. Announce dates for public hearings on tax increase. Miss Annie? Do you have any dates? That will be on September the 13th. A lot of paper. Okay. Now, we're going to have discussion and any necessary action by council regarding the mayor's veto of case number PZ 22-10.
Point of order. I think we skipped one. Discussion and necessary action regarding repayment of the EDC Fund 15.
Our public hearing is going to be on the 13th.
Yes, 13. Let's call for a break, about 10 minutes, and we'll get our paper in straight order. Not there. But that's okay. On Thursday. That's one of the. Right, yes. That's part of the confusion. I was on a wedding. We're going to do. I do that. Start thinking.
Did you find the missing days? Well, see, we're not even gonna do the hearing till the 13th. So. Yeah, but we have to. You're gonna do it that night. Yeah, you're gonna vote on that. You're gonna have a public hearing, vote on the race stuff. If it's been possible, post it. Hearing on the rate. And then you gotta wait. Is there supposed to be another proclamation? I get so confused. I'll just. Once for the library.
Can you hear me now? Yeah. When you hit that thing, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but that's okay. We're flexible, right? No, we're not. Okay. I apologize. Discussion of any necessary action regarding a repayment to fund EDC 15 for sales taxes related Walmart between 2008 and 2021. Do we have any discussion on that? Anyone like, Mr. Connor, would you like to make any comments? Okay.
Council, city manager, citizens. I've been here now 4 months, and in going through the books, every month there's a sales tax entry that's booked. And when I book the sales tax entry, the sales tax that comes in from the state of Texas, I allocate it 75% to our general fund and 25% to the Economic Development Corporation Fund. And that's by state law. And the citizens voted that the Economic Development Corporation would receive a portion of the sales tax. So back in about 2012, or I guess it was 2008, there was the Walmart that was considered the Walmart Corporation was considering building a Walmart here. And the land that the Walmart sits on is split between the city of Arlington and the city of Kennedale. So there was an interlocal agreement made that the sales tax would be allocated between the city of Arlington and the city of Kennedale. So Arlington receives the sales tax for the Walmart. And then Arlington remits a portion of that sales tax per the agreement to the city of Kennedale. When that sales tax entry is booked, since 2012, when the Walmart opened, it's been booked 100% to the general fund. Not only that, in the budget, it's shown 100% in the budget to the general fund. I've gone back and I've looked to see if I can find any kind of an agreement between the Economic Development Corporation and the city to say that the Economic Development Corporation would allow the city to retain 100%. I cannot find anything. I went through all the resolutions for the Economic Development Corporation. Cannot find a resolution stating that. I've asked council, I've asked the board of the Economic Development Corporation. Nobody is aware why 100% of this Walmart sales tax is being booked to the general fund. So for this year, I booked it the way I believe state law tells me to book it, which is 75% to the general fund, 25% to the Economic Development Corporation. If I go back and I look at all the sales tax since the inception, and I do a calculation, there's an amount that should be booked from the general fund to the Economic Development Corporation Fund. In order to make that transfer, I need council approval. So I ask you to review the documents that have been presented to you and determine if you too believe that the general fund should remit the portion that should go to the Economic Development Corporation. Are there any questions? Thank you. Are there any questions? Thank you.
B section is consideration discussion of council action to consider overriding the veto of case number.
Point of order.
Easy. What? Let's do yours first, Ken. Yes. Oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
I'd like to go ahead and post a motion to approve the repayment of $378,249.05 to the EDC budget. for the sales tax from Walmart.
Mr. Connors has made a recommendation. I made a motion rather to repay to the fund EDC 15, the amount so specified. Do I hear a second?
I will
I'll second.
Give it to Jan.
And Ms. Joplin? Ms. Joplin seconds the motion. All in favor? Say aye. I count ayes, 5 of them. Joplin. All in favor? Mitchell. Ken. Austin. Motion passes. Okay, now we're down to B. Consideration and discussion of the council action to consider overriding the veto of case number PZ 2210 by the mayor. Any comments? Dan? Any discussion?
I would like to go ahead and say something.
Go ahead.
Over the past couple of weeks since we have heard this case, I know the council has received a number of emails. I have received a number of emails in opposition of this by members of the people who are already in phase 1, people who are in Magnolia Hills already, people in the vineyards, HOA presidents, HOA treasuries. And I did want to go ahead and state that back in January 2022, this year, our superintendent and John Clark stood right there and said, and I quote, "Due to having quite an impact and already facing growth in limited facilities for new development, they were not in favor of any new development, but now they're okay with this, phase 2. I think that's a jumble of words. I don't know if it's, if they are in favor of it or not. I haven't spoke to Superintendent G. However, I will say this. Again, I would like to go ahead and point out the 39 emails that I have received in opposition, and I will forward them all to you if you like. I'd also like to point out that in January 2022, our superintendent said no to 5 other developments because of the other developments that were currently being built in Arlington and in Kennedale, and the crowding that it might have caused. And I'd also like to point out that we still have a school that is closed, Arthur Intermediate. They're still not open. So we still have crowding. And until Arthur Intermediate gets reopened, I don't know what the actual impact will be. I don't think anyone up here does. I don't even think our own superintendent does. So with that being said, I end my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Connors. Austin, do you have anything you'd like to say or discuss?
I too have received several emails from concerned citizens about Magnolia Phase 2. A lot of valid points have been made. To simplify it, it comes down to this. This is the question that I see. What do we want Kennedale to be? Now, I understand the zoning question that was placed before us that was denied was simple. Does land development zoning make sense for that piece of property? That was the question on the table. Lot size aside, something has to go there at some point in the future, whether that's 2022, 23, 24. At some point, that piece of property will be developed. Now, it may be R3, maybe R2, maybe R4, planned development, multifamily. We don't know what that is. We have a request in front of us to consider planned development for that piece of property. I also know that we're working on updating our comprehensive plan and our UDC so that they're brought into this century, and we're going to correct a lot of errors and omissions and conflicts within those documents. At the end of the day, I think, well, let me step back. Land development makes sense for that location as it's adjacent to like zoning and like lot sizes. Now, with that being said, I'm also okay with hitting the brakes, updating our comp plan, updating our UDC, and having us collectively as a city move forward with a very clear understanding of what the overall intent is and what the vision is for Kennedy. So for me, at the end of the day, I can go either way on it, but it comes down to what's best for our city and our citizens. And as a whole, well, majority in the last council meeting decided that that development was not in the best for our residents and the neighbors in adjoining properties. But again, I can see it both ways.
Thank you, Austin. Ken, did you care to comment?
I kind of agree with Austin on this. It can go multi ways. My whole deal is I felt at the last meeting when this was brought up, it's not that we didn't know what we were voting on. There was a lot of confusion with the vote. It was 3 motions to vote for it, and then there was no motion for 2 of us to vote against it. And I think that's probably why it's a good reason to veto this and just bring it back to a public hearing. And then, of course, I've been getting a lot of emails from citizens and talking to a lot of citizens. And, there's some valid points with James with the school district. At that time, I think we were doing apartments. I think that was the big issue that they showed up and spoke on.
Townhomes and apartments.
Yeah, apartments and townhomes or something like that. And I can see a little bit difference between residentials and apartments. But, and then I go back and look, and the emails that I've been getting is like the stock tanks are federally protected waters. And I don't see how a stock tank is federally protected when it was dug by individuals, not God. So I'm kind of for the veto so we can bring it back up again. And that way it will give the citizens more input, the people that lived in Magnolia Hills and the vineyards and other citizens in Kennedale, that they can come to the public hearing and speak their opinion and not just sit there and email everybody. And then we'll have it on public record that who's for it and who's against it. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Ken. Gary?
Well, hot topic, right? So I too feel like it could go either way, but you have to weigh it out completely. And that's what I've done for the last week. I've looked at every direction to figure out what is best for our city, what is best for our citizens. And of course, I'm like James, I've been inundated with emails against it. I've met with some wonderful people yesterday that were for it. They spoke highly of the developer and had good interest in why we should do it. And I agree with everything they said. So how do you vote on something like this? So in the long run for the city, we need rooftops, right? I mean, we need rooftops. That's the bottom line. But do we want 50-foot wide lots for these rooftops? I just don't think so. I would rather see it be a second phase of the vineyards than a second phase of Magnolia Hills, but that's me. This is not going to affect me one way or the other, but it is going to affect the quality of life for some of the other people that we really need to consider. I too could go either way on this, but what I would like to see, the developer bring this back. He can come back in 3 months, right? What's the timeline? So if this gets denied,
1 year.
it's 1 year
I do believe
before you
so.
can bring it back? Is that right?
90 days.
90
Yes.
days. You can bring it back in 90 days. What I would like to see is a compromise. I would like to see maybe 65-foot lots. So in other words, instead of 50, instead of going all the way to R3, which is 80, come back at 65. I would just like to see bigger lots. One of the emails that I received, and it's something that I think the mayor and I discussed shortly after you guys were getting really close to being finished with some of the homes, is how some of the people can't even get a lawnmower down between their two AC units. That's just too close. Now, maybe they like it, but one lady sent an email to me and said that she's asked you guys to move some of the AC condensers so they can at least get to their backyard. And that was very concerning for me because I'm sure when they were shown the model home and they were buying these homes, they had no idea that that was going to take place. And so I know that if that was me, I mean, sometimes we don't know the questions to ask when we're buying something like that. And so that concerns me deeply that those citizens may not have understood exactly what they were getting. It's kind of like the people that buy these homes out here that don't know there's a racetrack out here. And then they hear the first night and they say, what the heck is that? So, you know, I've encouraged developers in the past to make sure you tell them that there's a racetrack here in Kennedale where they won't be complaining about it. So I would like to see this brought back. I mean, I don't know that I can support it tonight, but like I say, I'm not totally against it, but I'm not totally for it. So we just got to go back to the drawing board, in my opinion.
Ms. Shelton?
Well, I have so many thoughts. Where do I start? I will start with, I initially denied Magnolia 1 because it's a rooftop to rooftop addition. And, you know, when I got involved in council, what I heard is people wanted to preserve Kennedale. That's what I heard, is to preserve Kennedale, to try to preserve the community feel. Low density is what that means. And in order to do that, it would be a little more space. And I do understand that we need to provide housing for, you know, starter homes and on up, and give different people the options to buy homes here. For me personally, it's hard for me to imagine a starter home at 350, 400, but you know, that's apparently just the way things are nowadays. So I feel like that we've done that. Although I didn't vote for it, I am just one vote of 5. Magnolia 1 was voted for, even though I did not vote for it. And we also have some other PD R4 on the Hilltop Edition subdivision. So I feel like we do have some R4s to offer already. And for this particular area, and so I was short in the last meeting and said, you know, that I wasn't for R4s, but this is the reason. That was a long meeting and I was trying to just take a shortcut. But we already have that. We have the R4s, and in this particular area, you're going between the R4s and the vineyards. And I'm looking over here because I'm looking at the citizens that stayed in opposition of this. So I'm looking for that transition. And so for anyone that emailed, and I emailed you back, people really don't want they don't want change. Nobody really wants change. That's just the way we are, especially if it changes our backyard. And I'm one of those. My backyard has changed. The apartments are right behind me. I did not want those apartments there, but they're there. And I have to learn to deal with it. I have to learn to deal with the traffic, and I have to learn to deal with everything about it and everything that's going to come down my creek, because I live on the creek. So I'm going to be affected on the creek as well. So I get it. I hear you. But the land that we're speaking of, it's going to be a PD with those R4s. I have to look at the whole thing. what is currently there, which is R4s, and then where it's going to, which is the vineyards, which are the vineyards, would you consider those R2s? 3s? So those are R3s. So I would like to see the transition, I agree, rather than a Magnolia 2, maybe something like a Vineyards 2, the transition being a little bigger lots going up to the vineyards. I would also like to look at the traffic flow a little more closely because I do understand that where it's the traffic was going to go through the vineyards and then also back through Magnolia 1. That was the only exit to get out of Magnolia 2. And I would like to see that looked at a little more closely. And so that's my expanded reason for denying this was because we have offered the R4s and this lot is between the R4s and the vineyards and R3. So I would hope that we would have a developer that would come back and give us a little more space, give us a little more information on traffic, maybe another option on traffic. I don't even know if that's possible because the streets are what they are. And then one other thing, what was it? The streets and.
Ms. Joplin, we've
yes.
reached a 10-minute limit.
Okay,
on
thanks.
Speak.
Um,
However, if any of the council wishes for Ms. Joplin to continue on with her presentation, please raise your right hand.
Okay.
We have two.
Well,
Mr. Mayor, point of order, just for clarification.
Mhm.
Is there a 10-minute time limit being imposed on council members during our
Yes.
comments?
Yes.
Okay.
that must be new. So anyway, that's my reason for deny it. And I didn't take the time that I wanted to in the last meeting. So I wanted to take the time tonight to expound on the reason that I denied it. And that's why I denied it. And I also received a lot of emails, and at some point that land will be developed. And we will have a developer that'll come back and present to us.
Thank you, Ms. Joplin. Is there any other comments?
Yeah, I got one more comment that I want to add.
Please.
A lot of people don't know where I live. I live on Colette Sublet in the old part of town. I guess the old Colette Sublet, as everybody's been calling it. And for the last 4 years, I've dealt with this construction traffic going up and down my street. If you live on Colette Sublet or if you live in Magnolia Hills and you drove up the street, you see the condition that it's turned into. Now, I look at it as the street that I lived on was a dead end street. Not one time did I come up to this council and oppose the new subdivision Magnolia Hills coming in. The only thing I was worried about, it was being a gated community, because then I would get the service trucks running up and down my street while everybody else got to drive in off Kennedale Sublet. So I've dealt with the construction. I feel for the people that, it's still underdeveloped right now. I mean, I understand that, but if you go to any city in Tarrant County, that's what everybody's doing. They're building. And like I said, want to see it come back. And I want to hear the citizens come up and speak. And so at that time, I was going to make a motion that we approve the veto and we can bring it back to a public hearing. I don't know when that would be set up, but I just want to approve it.
I would have an extra comment if I can.
Certainly.
Why does every piece of green space in this city have to be developed? Why? Can anyone answer that? Honestly. No, no one can. Not every piece of greenery in this city needs to
can
be
answer it.
developed.
Because a lot of the green space in Kennedale is actually in floodplains. So the green space that you're thinking about will be in floodplains, but the areas that are not in floodplains want to get developed.
So glad you mentioned floodplains, Kenneth. If you would,
If we want to argue about floodplains,
not gonna argue with
let's take a field trip and we'll go out there and walk around in the pastures and I'll show you where the floodplain actually started running through the vineyards.
Mr. Michaels,
So,
I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not.
Okay, gentlemen. Any other comments?
Yes, I was still in the process of making
Yes,
the comments.
but you are being argumentative and it needs to cease.
I wasn't being argumentative.
Sir,
I am now.
okay, you are. Would
Yes.
you like to leave?
And you will not stop me from speaking, Mr. Mayor.
I am stopping you from speaking, sir. Now, I'm asking you,
So
Sir,
again, I'm
order.
asking, why does every piece of green space in this city have to be developed? It doesn't.
this council meeting is closed. Okay, I'll ask for a motion. That's correct, okay. Okay. There's a motion. There is a motion.
There is, I didn't hear one. I'm sorry. Was there a motion?
There's a motion.
Okay, so here's a full-fledged motion.
Okay,
I have a motion on the floor to deny the veto.
point of order.
point of order.
I've already made a motion to accept the veto.
Let's be consistent with our language. You should sustain the veto or override the veto. So it sounds like we have a motion to sustain the veto. On the floor, it has not been seconded. Under our charter, it is a simple majority vote controls. And again, you're not voting on the P and Z matter. You're simply voting on the veto. It will not, it will just revert back to the previous vote if the veto is denied. Or overridden, to correct myself. So again, the motion on the floor is to sustain the veto. If it,
Do I hear a second?
without a second, Mayor, the motion
Goes on.
dies on its own, and you
Right.
can entertain a second motion.
There's a motion in front of us made by Mr. Connor to deny the veto. Is that correct, Mr. Connor?
Motion to overrule the veto,
Overrule
Mayor.
the veto. Thank you very much, sir. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
There is a motion been made to override the veto made by Mr. Connor, and Ms. Joplin has seconded that motion. We need a roll call. Please, Ms. Secretary.
Gary, since Jan's already made a motion, Gary Mitchell. Kenneth Michaels. Same. Austin Degenhart.
So my understanding is there were 3 votes in favor of overriding the veto, 1 vote against overriding, and 1 abstention. The motion carries. 4-1, all right, then I'm at 4-1, then the veto is overridden by the council according to our charter.
Thank you very much, council. Okay, the next one will be the executive session. And we will adjourn to that, and it is in accordance with 551.0 071. Consultation with the city attorney pertaining to any matter in which the duty of the city attorney under the Texas disciplinary rules of professional conduct may conflict with Open Meetings Act, including discussion of any items posted on the agenda, legal issues regarding the Open Meetings Act. And number one is review the comprehensive and UDC plan ordinance. So we adjourn to the executive session.
May I please get a recess for 15 minutes, sir?
Pardon me?
May I please request a 15-minute recess before we adjourn into executive session?
Certainly. Close the session for a recess for 15 minutes.
He's 9 weeks old. So my sister-in-law.
Okay. I can do that. Ma'am?
Adopted the budget, sign this one, and then I could get Corbin to sign it.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Fill out the time you exit, I've had the time. And
But I think I know. Audience went away, huh? Okay. I adjourn. Yeah, call the meeting back to order. City Secretary? I'm calling the meeting back to order. Would you note the
8:19.
time, please, ma'am?
8:19.
Okay. And I ask.
I'd like to make a
motion.
motion to adjourn.
That's who? Again?
Me,
Second.
James.
James? Okay. I have a motion there and okay, we got a whole bunch of yeses. Okay. Everybody says yes. Let's do it. Thank you, gentlemen and ladies.